So, you know, down around Hazard, the mountains are very steep. You know, they're like straight up and down in places.
Yeah.
And some of those mountains, the mountain that I was on particularly, it was a really steep mountain. And it's kind of hard to explain, but at the top of the mountain, it was only like, what, 10, 15 foot wide when you go up. Then it's like, it goes right back down on the other side. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's kind of narrow on the ridges. It goes up one side, 10 foot over, then down the other side. I mean, and so I was ginseng. I'm trying to make it kind of short. So I was going up the mountain, not ginseng hunting. So I was going slow, and I was just looking down. And for ginseng, I was really probably being really quiet and everything. You know, so I was by myself, just taking my time going up, and I got about 20 foot to the top of the ridge of the mountain, and I heard a little twig noise, and I looked up, and there he was. He was sitting on the top of the ridge, and when I looked at him, he stood up and turned around and went to the other side of the ridge, and I was like 20 foot away. And needless to say, in about one or two of his steps, he went over the ridge. So now I'm like 20 foot below the other side. Mm-hmm. And, and I was just like, man, I have to see him. I have to, get another look. So I started up the ridge as fast as I could to the top where he was at. And on my way up, what always stuck in my mind was I could hear him running. His footsteps, doosh, 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 on the other side. I could hear him running. And when I got to the top, it went dead quiet. And I just started looking, down around the other side. And he just like disappeared. And I was kind of really shaken because I knew for a fact I wouldn't, 30 seconds away from him. And I looked right at him, when he went over the ridge there. And so I squatted down, poured a cigarette out, and I was like, man, he must be hiding. He must be because he couldn't have went that far. And I heard his footsteps stop. So I sit down, and I sit there for about 10 minutes thinking maybe he'll move. He's hiding and he'll move. But he never did. And I just made my way back to the house. And when I got home, you go, oh, running into Bigfoot. Yeah, you're crazy. But I don't know. I always wanted are you any part of the research or trying to find Bigfoot or anything?
Yes. We've documented over 500 eyewitness encounters in Kentucky in the last 30 years. And
right.
hopefully we'll get enough evidence to go to the state legislators and protect the forests. They don't need protecting because they do a pretty good job of keeping their distance, but their habitat does. So hopefully we could have them have enough proof to protect the land and in turn protect them.
All right. So do you have anything about having searches for Bigfoot or anything?
Yeah, we do small expeditions and some large ones as well. But it's very hard to see one when you want to. Sometimes you can have you can have interactions with tree knocks and other ways, but to actually see one is very difficult because they're highly intelligent.
That's where that's why one reason I was glad. I just wanted to tell my side of the story. Like I said, I binge watched the other night. Must have been 12 hours in a row of different searches for Bigfoot, and I laughed because every one of them. It was like I was like they were doing it all wrong. I was born in in the mountains, and I remember when I was a kid, we hunted, a lot for and I remember one time asking my dad what was best way for me to go hunting, and he had told me that there's several ways to hunt. One is to find you a spot, camouflage yourself, and just sit there, and wait for something to come to you. He said, but in your case, he said, if you're quiet, he said, you might walk right up on one, so, moving. You might run into one or you could sit tight, and so, and I was always in very good shape, and I'd done a lot of moving through the woods by myself hunting, and I had, luckily walked up on a lot of creatures. I was up on them before they even knew I was there, and had sightings, and so, but all these Bigfoot, I don't know how to explain it. They, I think you have to they're very intelligent. I mean, for some reason, they're like masters of camouflage, or it's like I don't know, but I think I would just like to give my insight on. I think the best way to hunt for Bigfoot is like, I don't know how to explain it, like not hunting for him. Like take like two guys and just like ignore them. I mean, you can't, those guys go out there with flashlights at night. That's crazy. I mean, you're not going to see one in the daytime. How are you going to see one at night with a flashlight? And if you had a campsite and you act like, you're just camping out or something, they might come to you.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other aspect, if in the daytime, you could just, track through the hills and you might run up on one. I mean, it's either or. I mean, so I don't know. That's my insight on hunting for Bigfoot is, I mean, it's you're going to be lucky, really, to run up on one. And I don't know. So I'm glad I got to tell that part. I did. I looked right at him, though. And like I said, my what really burned in my head on the way home and after I thought about it, like, was him running. There was no, I couldn't dispute the way his, footsteps were hitting. Two, when he was running away. Yeah. And so I don't know. And as he stood up and went over the ridge there, and I was like, man, I gotta see him again. So I took off toward where he was, not running, but as fast as I could up. And I don't know.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember any detail of what it looked like?
Man, it was just like what I seen on TV. He was probably between 7 and 8 foot tall, just, brown, just, massive, across the shoulders, big arms, just his hair went, from his head, to his body. I mean, I just, the big legs were massive. He was just, a big, massive dude, man. What really, I'd only really looked at him for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, or maybe the max 4 seconds. But it was long enough to where I looked right at him.
Was he looking at you?
Well, he was squatted down. When I first, walked up behind him, he was actually squatted down, and I heard, a little, just something caught my eye, and when I looked up, he was looking at me, and I looked at him, and that's when he stood up. And when he stood up, he turned to the left, and right after he stood up, he turned to the left, and like I said, it was like 1 or 2 steps. He stepped over the other side of the ridge. And I mean, the ridge was only, like on that mountain, it went up one side, and right there on that ridge, it was only like maybe not even 10 foot wide, and it went down the other side. So, you know what I mean? So in 2 steps, he was going down the other side. And
when you looked at him, could you see his face?
Yeah, I did. I noticed that he had noticed me. He looked at me.
What did his face look like?
Man, it looked just like what they show on TV. I mean, I couldn't. It did. It looked like some of the pictures I'd seen on TV.
I'm sorry. Can you describe anything about the face that you can remember?
About his face?
Yeah.
Well, it was pretty distinct looking at him, his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. I mean, that's something, if you look at the face, that's what you look at on anything, and there, that's really what made him Bigfoot was his face.
What color was the face?
It was dark. There was hair coming down to his forehead, and then you could tell that right around his forehead, maybe his cheekbone, and then around to his mouth, there wasn't a lot of hair, which, made his facial features kind of stand out somewhat.
What did the eyes look like?
I really couldn't say, exactly what they looked like what color they were or whatever. But it seems like they would have been kind of dark. Nothing nothing like light blue or nothing like that. Or, it was all kind of a dark looking face.
Could you see the nose?
Yeah.
What did the nose look like?
It kind of looked like a human nose. I mean, that's one thing, that's what made him Bigfoot, was his face. Really, all in all. I mean, you could distinctively tell by looking at his face that was Bigfoot. That's what, made him.
Did he show his teeth at all?
No. He no. Just what I'd seen, I don't think he'd even opened his mouth. And like I say, when I only looked at him. When I looked up, he was squatted down. He stood up. He looked at me, and that was like 2 seconds. And then he just turned left. When he turned, sideways, he took 1 or 2 steps, and he went over the other side of the ridge. And I was like 20 foot away, and I was like, man, I have to have another look. So I, went as quick as I could to the top, and I take my first 10 steps. I could hear him, doosh, 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 going down, going up. I couldn't see him, but I know he was on the other side of the ridge, but I could hear him. His footsteps is what really got me. I could hear him.
Did you have a gun with you?
No, I didn't.
Well,
no, I was just ginseng hunting, and I didn't even have a gun. You would think I would have been scared, right? Would have ran the other way. But something compelled me, and I was like, no, I have to, whatever, I have to get another look when I went, toward him. And that always stuck in my mind, too. I was like, dang, I run into Bigfoot up the mountains, and I go after him. He takes off running from me.
Well, people have no idea how witnesses are going to react. Some run, some approach it, some remain calm and stay and watch. You don't know when you're caught off guard. You're caught by surprise how each person reacts to a sighting.
Yeah, it's like you're in a state of shock, really. I mean, there's no, it's like, but like I was saying, I don't know, on my behalf, I was like, no, I have to get another look, man, So I went toward him, and I
was going to ask. You said the hair was brown. Was it long hair or short hair?
It was, it was fairly long. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 inches. Kind of,
Could you notice the hands or feet?
I'd seen his arm and his hand when he turned around. I seen his arm. Then I got a view of his side silhouette, and I didn't see his palm per se that I remember, but I seen the back side of his hand and the side of his leg. And like I said, what always stuck in my mind was hearing him take off, and I could hear him, And And no, I didn't look for footprints or nothing like that. And there, it would have been hard to have found one anyway, because it was like, kind of hard there, and just leaves and twigs on the ground. But
what time? What
but
time of year was it?
I'd say it was around maybe September. Of course, I was ginseng hunting. It would have been that time of year, And it was probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why, all those Bigfoot expeditions, them guys looking for him at nighttime with flashlights, man, that cracks me up. I mean,
that's not going to work.
No. You can't find him in the daytime, man. And you'll find him with a flashlight at night.
What part of Hazard County is this?
It was there's a place called Chimney Rock down there. It's down towards Walkertown, where the Mother Goose Market is. That mountain behind Mother Goose, in that area. Well, yeah, just Roger from Hazard would be fine. I'm 65 years old now. There's no mistaking that there is a Bigfoot out there. But, there's mountain lions out there, and you may never see one. I've only seen one in my lifetime, and that was probably 50 years ago. And I don't know.
Listen, I was going to tell you, I was going to thank you for coming forward and sharing your encounter.
Well, I just wanted to give somebody. I looked it up on his expeditions, and I just came up with you guys here in Kentucky. And I just wanted to give my insight on how. One way I think you could search for Bigfoot would, you either have two options. You could stroll through the hills, a secluded, wilderness place or whatever, or wooded places. And, and you might walk up on one. And you may have your camera ready. You take a picture. And your other option would be to have a campsite and just have them come to you at night. I mean, it's only, the way I look at it, you're only two options. You can't be out there running through the woods trying to find you. It's, it's not going to work. That's just like the Patterson film. Those guys were on the horse. They just happened to ride up on him at the right time. I mean, they were, semi looking for him, but it just so happened that they rode up on him, just, and there you have it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for sharing your story. And hopefully by sharing this, more people will come forward and share their story too.
Yeah, you're right, because, it was like, I was wanting to tell that story, and after it happened, I told some people, man, act like I was crazy, and so I never told anybody for years. I never even mentioned it again. And just a few weeks ago, an old friend of mine, I told him, I said, I seen Bigfoot once, and he's like, yeah, right, man. So, I mean, I could imagine, you know, people just look at you like, yeah, whatever. So, I don't know. I really wanted to just get my insight on, you know, on looking for Bigfoot, on, you know, on ways, my opinion, the best way to find him is, you know, just nonchalantly, you know, in the woods, maybe have your camera ready, or, you know, there was a lot about, you know, Bigfoot coming to your campsite. So, I mean, you know, it's either or. You might get lucky and, you know, walk up on one, or you might have one come to you. That's, you know, that's the only way.
Yeah,
but as far as getting out there and try to run one down, you can forget it, I think. You know.
Yeah, I agree totally. Well, thank
you
so much. Thank you for the interview. And on my YouTube channel, hopefully the next week I'll get it up there. People can listen to it.
All right. Well, I'm glad I got to tell somebody that, you know, that probably halfway believes you.
I believe it.
All right, sir. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, man. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.